Yeah, in my opinion, the Balfour Declaration was not a betrayal of the Arab people. We know that Mahmoud Abbas earlier this year requested that the British government apologize on the 100th anniversary of the Balfour Declaration for the damage it did to the Arab population. I would disagree with him, and I would disagree with him on 3 points. The first of all is you must understand the context of the world in the post-World War I period. President Woodrow Wilson of the U.S. had quite a bit of clout because the U.S. had been the tipping nation for victory in World War I, and he promoted his 14 points, which included ethnic or national self-determination, and it was designed to break up the multinational, multi-ethnic empires, especially Austro-Hungarian Empire, but it was, and then the Ottoman Empire. But it did not result in perfect solutions because there were always minorities, even in these newly created states. And adjustments had to be made. A lot of migration was undertaken. For example, in the Ottoman Empire, there were many, many Greeks living in what is now Anatolia or the Turkish Republic, and many Turks living in Greece. They had a population exchange to lessen the tensions, and most of these people moved. Along the Levant, the eastern end of the Mediterranean to the west of the Jordan and the rivers north of it, and the mountains north of it, you had another highly complex multi-ethnic area with both Sunni and Shia Muslims. You had Druze and Alawites who were kind of dissenters from Islam, and you had Maronite Christians and Greek Orthodox Christians and Jews. So it wasn't a simple, easy solution for this territory to come up with a proper breakdown by ethnic group. And furthermore, the 5 allied victorious nations, Britain, France, Italy, the United States, and Japan, as well as all 51 members of the League of Nations, agreed that since the Jews did not have a territory, that their historic connections with the land they called Palestine were sufficient to designate that area their national homeland. And so it was agreed upon, and it was very seriously considered what would be the disposition. The Arabs were getting Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and the Hejaz, Saudi Arabia. These areas were all gaining independence, so the Arabs had plenty of countries. And it may be a slight inconvenience to a few in terms of rulership, but all their rights were preserved. Secondly, the British and the Hussein family, the guardians of Mecca, did enter into some exchange and discussions of what might be a disposition of lands after the Ottoman Empire was dismantled. The Hussein family wanted to become the rulers of Arabia, a newly created Arabia, and they wanted British assistance in this, an agreement. And Britain showed some interest in it and discussed the possibilities of this, but they did exclude the coastal area, and they also made it a conditional offer that there would be a successful Arab uprising, something that did not occur, even with Lawrence Arabia, Colonel Lawrence, and the help that he provided them. And also related to that was, and most important of all, the two parties agreed not to agree until after World War I, when they did seem to come to an agreement. So there really was no duplicity on the part of Britain here whatsoever. And thirdly, the average Arab resident of the territory that became Palestine was vastly better off under British rule than he had been under the rather inefficient and corrupt Ottoman regime. He had access to equality under the law. He had free education. He had a much healthier environment. They got rid of malaria, basically. He had the access to modern roads and railroads, and much better salaries that were provided by the British Mandate, as well as Jewish agencies, farms, industry, and the like. So aside from the fact that he no longer had a Muslim ruler, he still was much better off than he had been under the Ottoman Turks, who weren't even Arabs either. So I really think there's a very, very weak case for being unfair to the Arabs.
Subscribe and click the notification bell to receive updates about new content. Visit tomorrowsworld.org for more articles, telecasts, and booklets.